Hi guys, welcome back to Talk Wrestling on TalkSport 2. I'm delighted to be joined by AEW man Lance Archer. Many think he is the man who's going to win the TNT title, the inaugural TNT title, I should say. So first things first, during this period of uncertainty and a pandemic above all else, how are you doing, Lance?
I'm doing great, man. Just moving along, keeping it grooving, and getting ready for the next step.
I mean, in terms of lockdown and how that's affected your life, what you're doing, getting your work-ins at home, workouts at home, and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a little gym here at my house and have a little daily routine and keep it going. And then, luckily it's actually been real sunny and nice here. So I've either been in the gym or been out by the pool sunning.
Yeah, I mean, we had it sunny here till last week, but then this is the UK, man, so it was never going to last, I'm afraid. But such is life. Such is life. One of the
Absolutely.
main reasons I really wanted to talk to you, man, is although I've been familiar with you for a few years,
Hmm.
the stuff you did in New Japan the last kind of couple of years really caught my attention. Obviously a lot of people, I believe you got Wrestling Observer's Most Improved and things like that last year, and a lot of people started talking about you. And of course, then I saw what you did with Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom with the US title, and um, to then see you get the move to AEW was just very exciting to me. But I want to kind of
Me
talk about,
too.
yeah, of course. I just want to talk about that period of time, I guess. Like, did the Bulls really get moving around that time after Wrestle Kingdom? We'll come back to that and how that all happened. But as far as the AEW move, talk to me about when the wheels really got going on that.
This process is never a quick one. Usually it's always, a lot of back and forth and discussions and opportunities that come arise. And, a lot of this happened a lot sooner than most people know, just as far as the initial conversations go and just the ideas of the possibility. And like you said, a lot of the things that kind of happened in the last year of my New Japan time, with the G1. And actually it kind of really started in the New Japan Cup last year. I had a match with Will Ospreay
Mm.
that I think opened a lot of the eyes of people within New Japan and then the New Japan faithfuls. And then the G1, which actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, I wasn't actually supposed to be in the G1 to start off with. And then things happened, things changed and played into my favor and got put into the G1. And then, luckily busted my ass and the G1 was as amazing as it was, an opportunity at the time the most eyes have ever been on the G1, especially with it starting in the U.S. in Dallas, Texas. So it was one of those things that, everything kind of fell into place. And then the U.S. Championship, which kind of fell into place, it was an
Yeah.
opportunity that was presented to me because, there was an unfortunate typhoon that hit Japan and a lot of guys weren't even able to make it to Japan. And I did within 3 hours of the show starting and then got put into the spot facing off against Juice Robinson for that U.S. championship and becoming the U.S. champion. And then on into Wrestle Kingdom with my biggest match. I've wrestled in 6 Wrestle Kingdoms and had several tag title defenses in at Wrestle Kingdom. And this was my first major singles match and championship at Wrestle Kingdom, and it was with Moxley, and in a match that was extremely different than any other match that was on the card. 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, and ours was the only singles Texas death match, hardcore style match, and out of all the matches that went down. And I'd like to believe that Moxley and I killed it. The result wasn't necessarily exactly what I'd like it to have been, but
Mm.
it was still a damn good match, and I think changed a lot of people's opinions. But actually the wheels had even started turning prior to that match with Moxley. So to your question, when did this start? This started before Wrestle Kingdom. I'll say that much.
So and that's so crazy that like you said, I don't know whether we're going to call it fate or whatnot, but those opportunities that arise for you in 2019 that led to Wrestle Kingdom, the US title and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, I totally agree with what you said. I loved the match with Moxley. I thought it was hard hitting and it was a real showcase of not just what you both could do, but I felt like that was another point where there was a whole bigger audience starting to talk about you. Did you kind of feel that groundswell and you knew it was the time to maybe show, don't want to say showcase, but put yourself back in the North American spotlight again?
Yeah, I mean, with everything that AEW is doing, has done, and will absolutely do in the business of professional wrestling, it was exciting, I think, for everyone. If you're a fan, if you're a wrestler, it doesn't matter. You're paying attention to what AEW was doing, even before AEW went to a weekly TV show with what they were doing with just the pay-per-views and then the all-ins and everything that the Bucks and Cody and those guys were putting together. It was changing the scope of professional wrestling worldwide, and it was opening up doors in the eyes of not only the fans but the wrestlers in major ways. So everybody was paying attention. Obviously I was a solid part of New Japan at the time, but we're all watching that. And even with what New Japan was doing at the time with their global expansion, now we have a major player on the scene that isn't just the old guard, and now it's something new, it's something fresh, it's something fun, it's something entertaining with a whole slew of wrestlers that, some people never even knew before, your Sammy Guevara's and whatnot. And I've known Sammy for years because we're both here in Texas, and I knew how talented he was. So for him to be on that amazing national stage, really a world stage, set a precedence of what AEW was going to be. And for myself, going back to what had happened in 2019 with the New Japan Cup and then the G1 and then the US title and then going into Wrestle Kingdom, everything that was going on, for me, I'd been there for 8.5 years. The opportunity was presenting itself. It was exciting. I saw the challenges that were before me. And that was something I wanted to take on. I wanted to take on those new opportunities, those new challenges with a brand new, amazing company that was doing some really cool things in changing the wrestling industry altogether.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting that you talk about that, because I went to Double or Nothing, which was the first official AEW show, and I've obviously been to a hell of a lot of shows, and that was like nothing else that I'd experienced in terms of atmosphere and just the performers there. And of course, a lot of the performers anyway, but I guess watching that show as a performer at the time, is that what really you said to yourself, now this is for real, like this is something that I want to be a part of? Because of course that's when it becomes real, because at that point it was just a case of, they didn't have TV or anything yet, but that was the start, and now look where we are.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where at certain times I didn't know what opportunities were going to be presented to me. So I didn't know what options I had. But then when the options came around, and knowing, like you said, with Double or Nothing and TV and everything that was going on with the company, it felt right. It was the right time. The right things were happening. The opportunities were being offered to me, and like I said, it was one of those things, like I'm a strong man of faith. I did a lot of praying, and it was one of those things where everything was pushing me to be a part of AEW and to help them change the scope of professional wrestling, and then help people change their minds into what they maybe thought I was. Because, I've been around the business for a little while, and it's just been this last year where people started to really pay attention. And I really wanted my opportunity to show not only the American fans, but the world fans, what I was, who I was, and who I absolutely could be in the business of professional wrestling. And that is one of the best big men to ever step in the ring.
So talk to me about who reaches out to you from AEW, and how those discussions go. Is it Cody? Is it Bucks? How does that go?
It's just one of those things. There's people that friends that you've made, little chatter starts here, little chatter starts there. You have a conversation with this guy, a conversation with that guy, and everything kind of snowballed from there. There were a lot of supporters, I think, within AEW when the idea came about that I actually was available, that I didn't have a full-time contract with New Japan, and that there was a possibility of me joining AEW. And so there was a lot of people, there's not just one person that I can nail down and say, well, this person is the guy that said, hey, you need to be at AEW. There was several guys, from different positions, whether they were talent or whether they were one of the EVPs or whether they own the company or whatever. There was a lot of people that seemed to be interested in the idea of having me a part of the company as much as I had the interest of being a part of AEW. So like I said, when you ask, who was it? It's like, there's not just one person. There was a lot of people, which is a blessing, for that fact to exist. So it was really cool.
I mean, I'll give a little bit more context to that question. Okay. I guess what I mean is in terms of how did those discussions go? Because I think it's safe to say that everyone loved it when you and Jake Snake became a thing, I guess. And the promo that Jake cut the week before
Right.
that just turned so many heads. What a fantastic
Right.
way to debut.
Right.
So at what part of the process is that idea presented to you?
About halfway through. I mean, obviously, the contracts had already been signed, and I was already a part of the company. Now you start spinning the wheels as to exactly what's going to happen and how things are going to go down. There was several ideas pitched, and the idea of partnering up with somebody to having a manager, so on and so forth. Jake obviously.
Ooh, we lost a bit of audio there.
Only presented in different ways. Am I still there for you?
Sorry, buddy. I think we basically lost it from that question. It went for about 10 seconds. Do you mind if we can edit it, but do you mind if we just go from the top of that question again?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Sorry, bud. Sorry, man.
No, it's okay. I don't know what happened.
So essentially, yeah, let's dive back into that. Jake the Snake, amazing debut. When I heard his promo with Cody the week before, man, I was so pumped. And then to find out that it was you that was the,
Right.
I thought it was just the perfect storm. So talk to me about at what point that idea gets pitched to you, because you must have been so excited to work with a legend like him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a good dynamic, a good duality, of different personalities and styles while still kind of remaining the same. Jake's got that smooth talking snake in the grass, bite you when you're not looking. And my style is very chaotic and kick you in the jaw and knock your teeth out kind of style. So that yin and yang that existed between him and I was ultimately became a perfect fit. I don't know if there was people that kind of was like, well, is this actually going to work? And I think people have really grown to enjoy, his promos and his setup of, who I am and what I'm about. And then when I came out and even that first match with Marco Stunt and just kind of how it, I think, caught people off guard at the intensity and I'm trying to think of a good word here. The chaos that I created in the ring that I don't know if it really been presented in AEW's ring before. I think that combination of him and his smooth style and my just, like I said, knock your teeth down your throat style was a good combination. And like you said, the initial promo, him saying that he had a client, people going, what's going on? There'd been chatter that I'd been a part of the company, and that I actually at that point, the company had announced that I had been signed with the company. So nobody knew exactly what I was going to do, where I was going to show up or when I was going to show up. There was chatter that I was going to show up at the pay-per-view that ended at the end of February. And and that didn't happen. So people were like, okay, so what is actually going to happen? And then Jake cuts the promo, and then some people thought for sure, okay, yeah, it is going to be Lance Archer. And then some people thought, oh, maybe it's going to be somebody else. And they just didn't know. And then, everything was done very subtly. And, I think sometimes in this business, everybody thinks and expects everything to be this big explosion of a moment, where, something's going down and then somebody runs in and somebody gets chokeslammed through a table. And it doesn't always have to be that way. And that's what was the cool dynamic of having Jake as the mouthpiece, as you would say right now. His style of just going, I've got a client, and, hail Caesar, and, all the little things he was saying, the little nuances he was creating. And then us just, slowly sauntering out in Salt Lake, and then kind of just sitting there and watching and chilling, just getting an idea and a feel for the land. That presentation was something different that hadn't really been done lately in the business of professional wrestling. Because like I said, most of the time, everything is wham, bam, boom, there you go. And this was very subtle and smooth and take our time, and we'll get there when we get there, and now things are kicking off with the TNT tournament, and people are really starting to see the danger level that I can present in the ring. And, again, his ability to deliver those promos in a way that nobody else can in the business of professional wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the other thing as well. Like when, you said about this earlier, to circle back, that all the rumors and stuff that flying around about your contract at the time. I'm going to assume a guy like you had many offers. I don't know whether it be WWE, Ring of Honor, or even Japan asking you to stay. How quickly did you settle on AEW, and was there a lot of other stuff on the table?
Yeah, there was definitely stuff on the table. And obviously my relationship, again, with New Japan, I've been there for 8.5 years. So there was an offer from them as well. And, nothing was quick. Like I said, it was definitely a longer thinking process, a bigger decision process. Again, I said I'm a man of faith, and I had a lot of praying about this whole situation. And it was one of those things where, like I said, it ultimately came down to, I felt like just the people in AEW were much more attentive to having me a part of AEW. The numbers were adding up in the right way. Like I said, the prayers that I was saying were leading me towards AEW. Just everything was leading me towards AEW. And I said, the opportunity to be a part of something that's growing and be a part of that and help AEW become, even greater than it already is, that challenge was just too enticing. And so, again, nothing was quick about the process. It took its time, and I made some tough decisions, and ultimately made the right decision, in my opinion. But that's what led me to AEW. It didn't happen overnight. It took some time, but ultimately it happened. Now we're here, and now I'm ready to kick some ass.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's an awesome setup. Like you said, you're right in that TNT hunt. You've got Jake the Snake, lurking around. Obviously, there'll be more of that, I'm assuming, when this pandemic hopefully passes us by. But what I would say is the possibilities are, amazing with the people to work with. You mentioned Sammy earlier. I'm a big fan of Sammy. Let's talk about some other guys that you've seen their work in AEW and you're really excited to get in there with. I guess there's a long list, but let's just spit some names out.
The cool thing is I've been around most of these guys at some point or another. Pac is a guy that, I've known Pac for many, many years. Pac and I were actually on a crazy little island tour. It's called La Reunion. It's off like the south coast of South Africa near Madagascar. Him, myself, and several other people, Mad Dog 2020, he was out there. And it was like 2009. This is before I even did my short cup of coffee up north. It was one of those things, like, I saw his talent back then, and then just to see what he's become and to be able to step in the ring with somebody like him. And, he brings that fight. He's got that Japanese strong style that I love to bring myself. And then he's also got the amazing high flying abilities, that I think very few people can match up to him. Like I said, we talked about Sammy Guevara, a guy that I've been around for many years in Texas. We've never stepped in the ring. Again, Pac never stepped in the ring against each other, but we've been around each other for many years.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega is a guy that I've been around for many years, whether we were in the same company or not. In Japan, we were around each other, but we've never actually stepped in the ring together. And I just think those dynamics of my size and ability, as a big man in the business, as a 2020 big man, it is something that can match up really well with guys like Pac, guys like Kenny Omega, guys like Sammy Guevara. And then obviously you have to talk about the big men in the company. We've got Luchasaurus, Wardlow, we've got Brody Lee now, myself, Jake Hager. You've got all these monster battles that can go down. Jake and I have matched up on the independent scene before, but we've never matched up on a big stage before, even though, again, we were in WWE for a short time together. Luchasaurus, we never stepped in the ring together. Wardlow never stepped in the ring together. Brody Lee never stepped in the ring together.
I was going to ask you about Brody Lee, because to me, the prospect of you two working a big man match, man, that could literally, people wouldn't believe the stuff that you two could probably do together.
Absolutely, and that's exciting to me, like I said, and that goes back to the challenges. When you're asking the decision to go to AEW existed. I've named all these names, these guys that are amazingly talented people that I've been around forever in this business, and I've never stepped in the ring before with. So those prospects of being in the ring with all those guys and the different dynamics they bring, including myself and what I bring, it was too enticing and too cool to pass up. So, I think the future is amazingly cool and amazingly bright for the idea of all these different matchups for different reasons, and what's going to be presented to the wrestling fans once they finally do happen.
Awesome. Well, I know that I don't have you for much longer today, but I am very grateful for your time. In closing, I guess, what I want to ask is, you mentioned it yourself, you've been in the business, 20 years, I think, at this point?
Yeah.
In terms
July will be 20 years, yep.
Right, exactly. 43, I believe. So you've seen a lot. AEW is this...
We don't have to tell people that, okay?
No, I'll edit it. Don't worry. You've seen a lot, and AEW has been this breath of fresh air for a lot of people. What are your hopes, I guess, moving forward, and just how excited you are for what you can do at this stage in your career? Because I'm feeling like you're not feeling like you're in the winter of your career. You've just come into your prime almost.
Yeah, man. You know, it took a little while. I mean, I think some guys figure this business out quicker than others. You know, I've had a lot of amazing opportunities, been on a bigger stage most of my career, from TNA to, again, my little short stint with WWE, to 8.5 years with New Japan, to now joining AEW. I've been lucky and blessed in that sense. What I'm looking forward to, and like you said, I don't see myself slowing down by any means. I've taken care of my body. I've been blessed by the Lord big time, more than I deserve. And, you know, my opinion and desire is simply to move forward in the best, most beastly way I possibly can. And now being put on this stage with AEW, I think for me, it's a prime opportunity to achieve everything I was supposed to have already achieved. And now I have that chance to do so. And it's starting with the TNT Championship, and it's only going to move forward from there. And all those amazing matchups that are in front of me with guys that I've never stepped in the ring with is just exciting. It drives me. It makes me want to get in the ring. It makes me want to get in the gym. It makes me want to move forward. And there's no point that I'm ever thinking, I can just coast by. I'm always thinking, if I don't bring my number one top A game to the ring every single time with these guys and for the fans that are watching, then I'll cease to exist. And that's the last thing that I'm going to let happen, is let myself cease to exist. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep letting people know that I'm absolutely one of the best big men, if not the best big man in the business of professional wrestling today.
Well, man, I've got to tell you, I'm genuinely very excited to see what you're going to be doing in AEW. I'm hoping I'm going to get you and Cody in the TNT finals, but that's just me speaking, man. That's just me speaking. But thank you so much for your time today, man, and make sure you take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, man, for having me on.
Thank you.